Years ago, we had boarded a ship from an unknown port in a distant land. The vast blue of the sea and the endless horizon both intimidated and intrigued us. On the ship's deck, we swung our legs, moving in rhythm with the waves. As the sun rose, thousands of lights sparkled on the surface of the sea, as if the ocean itself was welcoming us. From that day onward, a long and exhausting journey began. We faced storms, saw sea monsters in the darkness of night, and sometimes sailed in complete silence, gazing only at the stars. After every storm, though the ship was damaged, the crew's determination and solidarity kept us alive. On some nights, the sea was so calm that one could see the entire sky reflected in its surface, purples, oranges, deep blues. In those moments, time seemed to stop, and the world consisted of only us and the sea. Along the way, we visited various islands. Some were untouched and mysterious, while others offered an unusual life with their small ports. We met the locals, learned their languages and traditions. Sometimes, just drinking a cup of water with them and sitting quietly felt like an adventure. The ship's captain would show us old sea maps as we explored each new port, telling tales of mysterious routes and forgotten cities. All these long voyages, the storms, the islands, and our conversations under the stars at night felt like preparation for our journey to Runeterra. Gradually, the coasts began to appear. In the distance, the silhouette of a city glittering with golden towers emerged. As our ship docked at the port, we felt both excitement and a touch of nervousness. This was Demacia, and after all our adventures on the distant seas, we were about to begin our own adventure in this legendary city. The first moment we stepped into Runeterra felt like a reward for the years-long journey and the lessons we had learned. Every port, every island, every storm had taught us something, and now, we would put these lessons to use as we explored Demacia's cobbled streets and met its champions. We took one last look at the sea from our ship's deck. Now, the adventure was truly beginning. As our ship approached Demacia's port, the golden light of the sun illuminated the city's tall stone walls. At first glance, the power and order of Demacia dazzled us. Wide stone roads, towering spires, and magnificent palaces caught our eyes. As soon as we left the port, we began walking through the streets. The cobblestone roads shone, the ground was meticulously clean, and the gentle sound of small fountains at corners brought a sense of calm. Every street corner seemed to tell a story. We heard the clatter of horse-drawn carts in narrow alleys, smelled fresh bread and spices coming from shops. Children's laughter echoed off the stone walls as they played. Though people appeared serious and disciplined, their smiling faces revealed their hospitality. At every corner, a soldier stood guard. Their blue and gold armor reflected Demacia's pride. We entered a large market to shop. The market displayed colorful fabrics, handcrafted weapons, and fresh foods. Vendors showcased their goods with care. Shining shields, intricately forged helmets, and rings adorned with rare gems caught our attention. Here, we saw not only items, but also Demacia's culture and history. At one stall, the vendor showed us the city's emblem, the Golden Lion Badge, explaining its connection to Demacia's champions. In the evening, we arrived at the inn where we would stay for 2 nights. We had the chance to explore both Demacia's daytime and nighttime. The rooms, surrounded by stone walls, offered views of the city lights through large windows. For dinner, local delicacies were served, fresh bread, spiced meats, and honeyed cookies for dessert. Afterward, we went to the inn's terrace. The city lights merged with the stars above, and Demacia's grandeur unfolded before our eyes. On our second day, we met some of Demacia's renowned champions. Garen approached, carrying his shield on his shoulder. His serious gaze and confident stance immediately conveyed that he was a protector of the city. We asked him to explain Demacia's disciplined training and the heroic traditions of the city. Then Lux illuminated the surroundings with her light magic. Her smile and energy embodied the city's joy. Together, we walked through Demacia's plazas, saw the massive statues, and guided by them, explored hidden streets and training grounds where champions practiced. At night, the city transformed into a different kind of magic. Lanterns reflected off the stone walls, and between the sounds of water and wind, we felt Demacia's peaceful yet powerful atmosphere. Before continuing our journey on the ship, we absorbed the spirit of discipline, courage, and harmony we had witnessed during our 2 days in the city. Demacia was more than a city, it was a culture, a set of values. Every stone, every building, and every person had a story. As we returned to our ship, we felt both admiration and a desire to explore. Many more cities, adventures, and champions lay ahead, but the golden stone streets and heroes of Demacia would always shine in our memories. After leaving Demacia, as our ship moved away from the streets paved with shining stones, the magnificent palaces and soaring towers we had left behind gradually shrank. The golden streets and the upright stances of the champions faded from our sight, while the gentle rhythm of the waves and the creaking of the ship's wooden planks reminded us that we were opening the door to a brand new world. The wind hit our faces, and the salty scent of the sea filled our lungs. On the horizon, the sun glimmered red on the water, as if calling us toward Noxus. Throughout the long journey, the ship had surrendered to calm waters at times and to wind-whipped waves at others. At night, the stars reflected on the sea's surface, and the moon's silver light danced on the waves. These scenes reminded us of Demacia's golden streets, while also thrilling us with the unknown that awaited. On the 3rd day of the journey, the sea suddenly grew turbulent. Gray clouds covered the sky, and the ship began to dance in the storm's embrace. The crew tightened the ropes with experienced hands, and the captain's commands echoed loudly. We stood on deck, watching the glimmering waves, imagining Noxus's legends and its harsh nature. Excitement mixed with a bit of apprehension, for we had only heard of Noxus in stories, never seen it with our own eyes. Along the way, we took brief stops at islands emerging from the sea. Some were untouched and quiet. Palm trees swayed in the wind, waves lapped against the shore, and abandoned boats stood on the beaches, whispering tales of distant lands. Other islands had small villages, wooden houses, ports, and merchants. We had brief conversations with the locals, bought food and water, and sometimes spent the night on the beach. Each island carried stories from the depths of the sea that lingered in our minds as we approached Noxus. The Noxus stories we had heard in Demacia echoed throughout the journey. The city they called power, discipline, and determination was portrayed as harsh and ruthless. Its streets were constantly competitive, with victory and defeat marked by sharp lines. Yet, the determination and strength of the city allowed people to prove themselves, giving every champion the chance to write their own story. After experiencing Demacia's order and justice, we were eager to witness Noxus's chaotic power and harsh nature. As the days passed, the silhouettes of Noxus began to appear on the horizon. The towers were tall and sharp-edged, some were made of iron and stone, their pointed tips challenging the sky. As we approached the harbor, the ship's crew fell silent. In everyone's eyes was both admiration and respect. The port was crowded and bustling. Merchants, soldiers, ship crews, and city dwellers created a constant commotion. Here, in contrast to the disciplined order we had seen in Demacia, everything flowed quickly, harshly, and with its own distinct rhythm. When the ship docked, we leapt from the wooden deck onto the stone-paved streets. The air carried not only the salty scent of the sea but also Noxus's intense and powerful energy. At first glance, the city appeared somewhat intimidating, yet it stirred an indescribable curiosity to explore. Every street corner held a story, every step a struggle, and every face a determination. As we paused in the harbor to take in the surroundings, Noxus's city planning presented an aesthetic completely different from Demacia. Buildings were close together, with tall and steep walls rising along narrow streets. These streets reflected the city's harsh and defiant character. People moved quickly, their eyes constantly alert and scanning their surroundings. While we tried to move with the respect and polite demeanor we had learned in Demacia, we were met with Noxus's dynamism and sharp gazes. On the first day, we made a brief exploration of the harbor. Merchant stalls were filled with exotic spices and rare stones. Weaponsmiths displayed long swords and heavy armor. Everyone was focused on their own work, but we noticed that here, survival required constant struggle. By evening, the nightlife in Noxus's narrow streets had begun. Lanterns lit up, people created their own entertainment, and the city retained its vitality even in the dark. That night, we stayed at the harbor. As we slept, the gentle rocking of the ship and the distant sounds of the port accompanied our thoughts about Noxus's harsh yet lively energy. After Demacia's disciplined and secure atmosphere, Noxus's dynamism offered both new excitement and a new field of learning. From the moment we stepped onto the stone streets of the port, Noxus's stern and determined aura immediately enveloped us. Passing through narrow streets, the shadows of tall walls both protected us and conveyed the city's power. Every corner held a story, every window revealed a slice of life. Some were deep in silent thought, some arguing loudly, and some simply going about their way. We first began exploring the city's main street. Narrow cobbled paths opened onto expanding squares, each hosting a scene of commerce or performance. Merchants displayed exotic weapons, rare stones, and strange garments, while the townspeople engaged in intense competition for trade. The light breeze, the sounds coming from between the stones, and the clanging of metal together reflected Noxus's harsh but vibrant spirit. Our first stop was the city's famous weapon markets. Here, the art of armorers working with iron and steel was on full display. The sharpness of the swords, the weight of the armor, and the skilled hands of the craftsmen fascinated us. We spoke with several of them. They shared their personal stories and gave us insight into Noxus's harsh but fair rules. In this city, power was necessary both to survive and to earn respect. After shopping, we walked toward Noxus's narrow and dark streets. The flickering lights of street lamps cast shadows between the stone walls, revealing the city's mysterious side. In these streets, we could sense not only daily life but also the spirit and competition of the city. Around one corner, we saw a group of champions training. Sword strikes, magical flames, and swift movements both impressed us and gave a slight thrill. We decided to spend the night at an inn near the city center. The rooms were simple but sturdy. Stone walls and wooden ceilings reflected Noxus's harsh yet resilient character. Throughout the night, distant sounds from the harbor, the murmur of the streets, and occasional clashing swords reminded us that this city was always in motion and conflict. The next day, we explored Noxus's narrow streets more deeply. We encountered a group of champions. Some spoke boldly with us, while others were distant and cold. Yet all of them exhibited a stance fitting the city's disciplined and strong structure. From them, we learned that in Noxus, power and strategy came before all else. No one could live here solely for fame or glory. After shopping, we ventured into quieter back streets of the city. Here, we observed the small details of daily life and the people's sincere yet cautious interactions. We bought sweets from street vendors and got a chance to see a different side of Noxus. Even amidst its duality of harshness and subtle kindness, the citizens were connected and stood together to protect their world. On the second night, there was a festival in the city center. Lanterns hung overhead, folk music played, and warriors showcased their skills. We joined the celebration, enjoying ourselves while experiencing the city's spirit up close. Noxus's energy was very different from Demacia's orderly, golden streets. Here, everything was lively, sharp, and full of competition. After the festival, we climbed one of the city's tall towers to observe the view. Narrow streets, tall buildings, crowded squares, and the distant port combined to make the city seem alive. This city had been built through power, struggle, and determination. Every stone and corner told a story. Over the 2 nights, we explored Noxus, the city's harshness, the courage of its champions, and the determination of its people left a mark on us. At every step, we understood how difficult it was to survive and earn respect here, yet also how captivating it could be. After Demacia's golden streets, Noxus's determined and harsh structure provided a new perspective and an exciting memory. Walking through Noxus's dark streets, we realized that not only stone and metal, but also magic flowed through the veins of the city. A courtyard that seemed ordinary at first glance could suddenly become a place of ritual with a small beam of light. The old stones lining the streets continued to gather energy through symbols engraved on them, and the whispers carried by the wind seemed to speak of magic. At a marketplace, we met an old wizard behind a simple stall. His table held only talismans, scrolls, and colorful bottles. He explained that in Noxus, magic was a part of daily life. Here, magic was not used only in battle or displays of power, it was integrated into daily rituals and the city's defenses. Some spells created invisible energy lines over walls to protect the city from enemies, while others kept street lamps perpetually lit, illuminating the night. As we moved further, we came across Noxus's training grounds. Here, young champions honed both physical and magical abilities. Around one corner, we watched a group of wizards playing with fire. The flames they conjured were not just light but a performance of dance. The movement and rhythm of the fire reflected Noxus's energy, imparting a sense of power and discipline with every strike. Controlling the magic required patience and precision. A single mistake could lead to a small explosion or an unintended circle of fire. Later, we entered a more mysterious area of Noxus, where witches and mediums lived, maintaining ancient rituals. Along the streets, light rings and tiny floating glimmers mesmerized us. One medium performed a display. Colorful energy lines danced through the air, passing over symbols, adding both mystery and a hint of fear to the city's atmosphere. The magic here was not only visual but also psychological. It captivated the audience, demanding full attention to the ritual. Another type of magic we observed was designed for combat. In one of the city squares, an experienced wizard army had turned a small area into a battlefield. Stones rose from the ground, spears hurled into the sky, and energy arrows flew through the air, demonstrating Noxus's martial culture and discipline. The combination of spells was not merely for display but also part of strategy. Each spell was carefully planned for both attack and defense. Magical elements were not limited to squares. Even some street cafes contained magic. In one cafe we entered, a cup of hot tea was served with a faintly glowing ring of energy. Magic was functional but also served aesthetic and ritualistic purposes. These small details showed that in every corner of Noxus, as evening fell, the effects of the magic still lingered over us. The harsh structure of Noxus, its disciplined people, and the power of magic combined to make us feel like we were part of a world both observed and experienced firsthand. With every step, we discovered the city's mystery, strength, and magical energy. This was an unforgettable experience, far different from the ordinary journeys we had experienced in other cities across Runeterra. As night descended, we climbed one of Noxus's towers to watch the city from above. Faintly glowing lines of energy ran between the streets, revealing the traces of wards and protective spells. These lights mapped out the city's power and the life intertwined with magic. Every detail we saw with our own eyes proved that Noxus was not only strong physically but also magically. On the morning of the third day, while the city was still wrapped in early-hour silence, we disembarked from our ship and began walking toward the city center. The air was still cool, and the stone streets, shrouded in a light mist, were filled with both ancient and new magical markings. In this city, it wasn't just the stones that held power. Magic and strength seemed present in every corner, as if even the cobblestones themselves stood like warriors. Our first stop was just outside the city walls at the home of one of Noxus's most renowned champions, Darius. With massive muscles and sharp, commanding eyes, he inspired both respect and a touch of fear at first glance. Meeting Darius, we realized he was more than a champion. He embodied Noxus's strength and discipline. While talking with him, we learned much about battle strategies and Noxus's military power. We even participated in a small training exercise. Watching a group of young champions move in perfect synchronization under Darius's guidance was mesmerizing. Afterward, we headed toward the city center and encountered Katarina. The narrow streets were adorned with red banners, and at every step, Noxus's harsh yet captivating atmosphere was palpable. Katarina moved gracefully yet lethally. The blades on her arms gleamed, each motion harmonized with a sharp rhythm. Speaking with her was like discovering the personality of a legend. Every word conveyed courage, discipline, and composure. We asked her to perform a small demonstration, and as her blades danced through the air, time seemed to stand still, and every breath was held in awe. Continuing our walk, we came across one of Noxus's magical academies, where young sorcerers were trained in both everyday spells and combat magic. Here, we met Swain, His eyes were not merely human, they held the vision of a leader capable of seeing strategy and the future. Swain explained how magic was used in city defense and shared some secrets behind Noxus's power. He even allowed us to perform a small experiment. Energy rings formed in the air around us, demonstrating that magic required not only strength but also intelligence and discipline. By late afternoon, while wandering the narrow streets of Noxus, we encountered a group of witches and mediums. They carried out their daily rituals without concern for our curious gazes. Floating energy particles, colorful rings of light, and tiny sparks revealed Noxus's dark magical atmosphere. Here, magic was not just a tool of power, it was an inseparable part of life, permeating everything from teapots to street lamps. At night, we climbed Noxus's tallest tower to survey the city. Every street and square pulsed with magic and the energy of champions. The fire rings in Darius's training ground, Katarina's blade display, and Swain's strategic magical experiments left a faint glow against the darkness. In that moment, we realized that Noxus was not merely a city but also a center of power and magic. After spending the third night in the city, Noxus's atmosphere still lingered over us. At every step, we felt the city's dark yet enchanting spirit. Exploring the champions' personalities, skills, and daily rituals became an unforgettable part of our journey through Runeterra. In particular, a city so intertwined with magic and power offered an experience we could not have found anywhere else. The days we spent in Noxus were slowly coming to an end. Every step along the stone streets revealed traces of magic and discipline, and the courage of the champions filled our eyes. But now, it was time to return to our ship. Walking toward the city's great harbor, the warm stones and deep red banners of Noxus still danced before our eyes. At the harbor, bidding farewell to the champions we had met proved difficult. Darius offered a final salute with his powerful stance and said, "Strength will always be your companion. But remember, friendship is also a form of strength." The courage and discipline on his shoulders still echoed in our minds. Katarina smiled at us with her sharp gaze and said, "Every battle is a choice. You have chosen your own path. Now continue your own adventure." Even for a brief moment, keeping pace with her sharp wit and agility through the city's chaos had been exhilarating. Swain watched us from a distance at the harbor. With his calm eyes, he said, "Every strategy prepares for the future. Now create your own strategy." Farewells complete, we stepped onto the ship, and Noxus's magnificent towers gradually shrank on the horizon. The gentle wind rising from the sea, carrying the scent of salt, greeted us. The flags hanging from the masts fluttered lightly. The sea would serve as both friend and trial on this distant journey. At first, the sea was calm, inviting. Its waves, glinting with the sun's golden light, lapped gently against the ship's hull. But as hours passed, the ocean revealed a different face. On the horizon, long, slender sea serpents appeared, twisting gracefully through the water as if to nod at the ship, then vanishing swiftly into the depths. A few miles away, massive octopuses with shimmering blue-green bodies sprayed water from the surface, occasionally lifting an arm to glance at us, almost curiously. And deeper still, schools of glimmering sea butterflies floated beneath the waves, painting a kaleidoscope of colors that rivaled the sky above. As we looked toward the horizon, the green hills and mystical silhouettes of Ionia began to emerge. The sea had settled slightly, and the sun, moving westward, blended with a soft pink glow at the horizon. Far off, we could make out the pointed roofs of Ionian temples and the tiny outlines of villages. It felt as though the land itself was whispering a quiet invitation, "Welcome." Silence reigned aboard the ship. Each of us imagined the mysteries, the magic, and the courage of the champions who called this land home. Ahead lay a long journey, but Noxus had left its mark on our hearts, lessons in bravery and strategy guiding us forward. A new adventure was beginning. Ionia, with its mystical forests, enchanted waterways, and masters of combat, awaited. As we approached Ionia, the sea calmed further. Standing on the ship's deck, gazing at the horizon, our eyes were filled with every shade of green. Rolling hills, small forests, and villages nestled among waterways stretched before us. Even before setting foot on land, Ionia's mystical essence touched our souls. Arriving at the harbor, the calmness and harmony of the Ionian people with nature became immediately apparent. Walking along wooden piers, stone bridges, and flower-lined streets, we realized how different this land was from Noxus. The streets were quiet yet alive. A sense of serenity and respect flowed among the people. At every corner, small temples and meditation spaces revealed the spiritual depth of this land. The first champion we met was Aurelia. Her stance was both elegant and powerful. Watching her spin her blades through the air, every motion flowed like a dance. It was mesmerizing. "Balance is everything in these lands," she said. Her words conveyed that Ionia was built not only on strength but also on harmony and discipline. Next, we encountered Karma. Her spiritual energy radiated visibly. Light emanated from her hands, casting a glow even as we drifted away from the ship. Karma spoke of the flow of energy in Ionia, the balance between nature and humans, and the importance of preserving it. Compared to Noxus's strict, power-driven approach to magic, this was entirely different. Here, magic existed for balance and peace, not dominance. We spent some time docked in the harbor, exploring Ionia's peaceful streets, buying handmade crafts from small shops, and sampling local cuisine. We paused before temples for brief meditations, realizing our own souls craved balance. Observing champions training in their dedicated spaces, we saw how masterfully they wielded magic, blending skill, precision, and discipline. At night, beside the harbor lanterns, we shared quiet conversations. The soft lapping of the waves, the gentle breeze, and the flickering light of distant lanterns allowed this mystical world to envelop us. Even in a short time, we sensed that Ionia was in harmony not only with nature but also with time, spirit, and magic. And so, having explored another continent, met new champions, and witnessed the many faces of magic, we returned to our ship. Ahead lay adventures in the more distant reaches of Runeterra, but the serenity, intelligence, and magic of Ionia remained etched in our memory. As the harbor's peaceful winds brushed our faces, it was time to return to the ship. The whispers of meditating monks floated in the air, blending with the breeze into a delicate melody. Walking along the wooden pier, the scene we left behind filled us with a warm tranquility and a twinge of farewell. As we untied the ropes, a few Ionian warriors bowed silently. Few words were spoken, yet their presence carried deep meaning. Karma's farewell lingered most vividly in my mind. "Carry balance with you wherever you go. If your path meets darkness, know that light is always just behind it." Her words echoed in my mind as we set sail. As the ship slowly left the harbor, Ionia's green mountains and misty forests receded into shadows behind us. The water seemed somehow infused with the land's spiritual energy, deeper, more profound than mere blue, a hue that felt filled with meaning. Once we were out at sea, the wind shifted, filling our sails and propelling the ship forward like a bird in flight. We remained silent for a long while, each of us lost in thought, reflecting on the impressions Ionia had left. But as the sun climbed higher, the sea began to change. The seas of Runeterra had always held mysteries. As we moved further from Ionia, the water darkened, and the waves took on strange new patterns. The first creatures we encountered were far from ordinary fish. As night fell, a faint light appeared on the water's surface. At first, we thought it was moonlight reflecting, but the light began to move. Rising from the depths was a massive, semi-transparent fish, glowing as if light were streaming from within it. It followed silently as we passed. I remembered what Ionian fishermen had once told us. They call it the Moonlight Guide. Later, a colossal creature appeared. Its back was black, like granite, sparking tiny flashes each time it surfaced. The ship shuddered with each movement. Luckily, it was curious rather than aggressive. And then, the sound we heard in the middle of the night. Clear as a human voice, delicate as the wind. The entire crew fell silent. A shadowy, long-haired figure rose gently from the water. It approached but did not touch us. As it sang, the air grew cold, our breaths fogging. I had heard of sirens appearing between Ionia and Bilgewater. Their song does not ask, it compels. We were fortunate. The shadow vanished swiftly. Few slept that night. When the sun rose, looking back, Ionia's shadows were still faintly visible on the horizon, but the view was entirely different. Through the mist, temple-like structures seemed to float in the air. It could not be an illusion. In Ionia, spiritual energy shaped the physical world in many places. A thin mist rising over the water carried the sounds of magical creatures from within the forests. When the wind blew just right, bamboo flutes could be heard. Whose hands played them, we could not know. Perhaps monks, perhaps the spirit of the land itself. As we drifted farther from Ionia, we felt eyes watching us. Not threatening, but protective. Karma's words came to mind once again. Balance watches over you, even when you cannot see it. The crew gathered. The east wind blew, pushing us westward. We studied maps, traced the stars. And the conclusion was clear. Our next destination had to be Piltover Zaun. The city of mechanical marvels, scientific rigor, and inventions. After the spiritual energy of Ionia, this was the exact opposite. But wasn't that the beauty of Runeterra? Every place different, every place its own universe. The ship slowly adjusted its course. Ahead of us, who knew what adventures awaited? Ionia's mystical aura, Demacia's reassuring golden stones, and Noxus's dark crimson banners were now behind us. After cutting through misty seas for hours, one morning we noticed two contrasting silhouettes on the horizon. A bright, orderly city bathed in golden tones. And directly beneath it, a dark, green steaming, metallic labyrinth. We knew. We had arrived at Piltover Zaun. Two cities like opposite sides of the same coin. One said progress, the other survival. One reaching for the sky, the other condemned to decay beneath the earth. At the start of our journey, we thought it merely a metaphor. Later, we would learn the truth, far more harshly. As our ship docked at Piltover's harbor, even the metallic scent carried by the wind screamed progress. Cargo cranes extended their mechanical arms skyward, while merchants transferred chests filled with hextech crystals through interconnected pipe systems. Order everywhere, rules everywhere. And everywhere, eyes that reminded you of the cost of ascent. Walking deeper into the city, we crossed golden bridges and disappeared into the shadows of towering structures. Scientists hurried past, and hextech vehicles buzzed across the bridges above us. And then we heard him. Or rather, we sensed him. A cough from an open laboratory door. Dry. Tired. Exhausted. Victor. We only watched for a few seconds. His delicate fingers adjusted a hextech device, and the fragile spark in his eyes refused to die. Across the room, Jay stood upright, focused on a massive blueprint, checking his own designs. We did not meet them. But sometimes you don't need to meet someone. You can understand a person's burden simply by the way they carry themselves. As we moved further through Piltover, I began to notice something hidden beneath this orderly glow. It was as if the city was concealing something. As if beneath the golden-plated walls, darkness seeped through cracks in the floor. And that darkness, it was calling me downward. The passage to Zaun was an old elevator beneath Piltover. An attendant had warned us. That's another world. Be careful. But curiosity won. As the elevator descended, the light dimmed, sounds muffled, and the vibrations echoing through the metal walls pressed against my stomach. Then the doors opened, and Zaun's breath hit me like a wall. The air was thick with chemicals. Hissing steam from pipes. Neon lights glowing instead of sunlight. Shadows moving instead of people. This wasn't a city. It was a wound. On the streets, people with strange mechanical prosthetics, mutated animals, sly eyes trading in the dark. Every corner whispered, "Don't get too close." I fell a few steps behind my group. For a moment, I glanced at the corner of a street, and that was when everything changed. A lost child merged into the crowd, leading me the wrong way. Steam pipes above hissed, neon lights flickered on walls, and every step brought another shadow crashing into my path. One detail struck me: the streets of Zaun were never straight. They always pulled you inward. Always downward, deeper and deeper. Soon my breath quickened. It felt as if the city itself was swallowing me. Every alley, every bridge, every staircase seemed to lead to a dead end. And then I realized I was lost. Truly lost. At one point, passing through a narrow tunnel under the shadow of a massive factory, I heard something drop behind me. I turned, but no one was there. Then a shadow zipped past my right side. Then something leapt from my left. "Hey!" I shouted, but my voice vanished in the tunnel. A little further, a light flashed in the darkness. It arced through the air and landed right at my feet. A small, round device. A tiny hextech toy trembling in time. Just as I bent to pick it up, a voice said, "Don't touch it. Won't explode, but it'll just slow things down." I turned. A child, no, a leader, stood there, hair streaked with white that caught the light. In his hand, a hextech staff. A worn jacket, battle-scarred with time. Echo. The boy who shatters time. He studied my face carefully. "You're a stranger," he said. "And lost. Those eyes won't last long here. Come on, I'll show you the way up." And I realized getting lost in Zaun was a cause of death. But in Echo's gaze, there was both childlike innocence and the ease of someone who knew Zaun like the back of his hand. I followed him. Along the way, he spoke. "Piltover is easy. Everything is planned orderly. Here, survival isn't a skill, it's a necessity. But we still laugh. Because we have no choice." His words echoed in every neon light along the streets. As we climbed, he revealed the truths of Zaun: chemically mutated animals, pirate gangs secretly processing hextech fuel, even shimmer addicts lurking in the shadows. The deeper we went into Zaun under Echo's guidance, the darker the lower layers became. Metal walkways, pipes creaking under each step, green neon lights flashing at eye level and vanishing into darkness. All pulling us toward Zaun's heart. Echo led the way, moving quickly, occasionally glancing back to check on us. Then, an impulse surged within me. I called out from behind. "Wait! Echo, hold on!" I was out of breath. The young inventor stopped abruptly, turned, and raised an eyebrow. Then, with a curious look, he stepped toward me. "What's wrong? Is there a problem?" he asked. I shook my head. "No, actually, I want to ask something. I've always wondered about the Shimmer Labs. Can you take me there?" Echo paused. A seriousness I'd almost never seen crossed his face. He tilted his head slightly and took a deep breath, as if 1,000 memories of those labs were suddenly alive in his mind. "Shimmer Labs," he said, his voice low, almost a whisper. "It's dangerous. Not just because of the chemicals. The very lifeblood of Zaun's darkest face pulses there. But at the same time, I saw something else in his eyes, a hesitation, a doubt, yet a side of him that wanted to trust us. Still," he continued, "since you're curious, I'll take you there. But stay alert with every step. That place, it takes as much as it gives back from Zaun." Echo led us through a narrow passage. Above our heads, a train thundered past. The metal screech echoed, and the wind slammed against our faces. As we made our way toward the main road leading to the labs, we crossed a misty bridge. Beneath it flowed a purplish stream. Chemical reactions caused bubbles to burst on the surface, and in places, the water shimmered as if briefly on fire. Just before we reached the end of the bridge, a figure shot out from the shadows. First, a sound like an explosion, then a high-pitched laugh. A laugh that anyone hearing it once in Runeterra would never forget. Jinx. Through the cloud of dust and smoke, her blue hair whipped around like an electric streak. She twirled small grenades in her hands as though they were toys. Her eyes were wild with excitement, chaos, and sheer delight. When she noticed us, she paused for a moment, tilting her head slightly. "Hey, new faces!" she called out. "What are you doing here? Not exactly the best place for a sightseeing tour, huh?" Echo's jaw tightened. His expression shifted with a complex mix of emotions, anger, pain, and the shadow of a childhood once shared. "Jinx, you're in our way," Echo said, his voice tense. Step aside. Jinx stepped back theatrically, leaning forward to study our faces closely. You haven't smelled the shimmer on you, yet, she murmured. So, heading to the labs, huh? Fun. Maybe you'll make it back in one piece. Maybe not. But don't worry, dying in an explosion is quick. She laughed again. Then her eyes locked onto mine. You, she said, pointing a finger at me. There's something about you. Different. Not even the light of Demacia could stick to you the same way. You seem from somewhere else. You carry another kind of wind. I didn't know what to say. She was right. We had come on this journey from outside Runeterra, from a ship carried by a wind that belonged to a dream. Jinx turned and strode into the shadows. A few steps later, she stopped and glanced over her shoulder. If you're going to the Shimmer Labs, she said, I'll be there. Whether you find me, that's another story. And then she vanished, as if swallowed by the darkness. We stood frozen for a moment. Echo took a deep breath and shook his head. Some of Zaun's wounds don't heal easily, he said. Come on. The Shimmer Labs are just ahead. Echo moved forward, and we followed. Jinx's presence had thickened the air. The darkness, the chemical fog, felt heavier. At the end of the path leading to the labs, a purple glow appeared. That glow, filling the dark tunnels, called out both danger and secrets. We kept walking toward that call. As we moved after Echo, the route to the Shimmer Labs grew narrower, suffocating, humming. The echoes between the metal walls were sometimes like the whirring of a machine, other times like a distant scream. The air inside the tunnel was thick, as if each breath filled our lungs with invisible mist. Echo pointed to the purple light at the end of the tunnel. This is where it begins, he whispered. We're very close to Zaun's darkest secrets. As our footsteps echoed, a large metal door emerged at the tunnel's end. Rusted but still readable, a warning was etched into it. Chemical Level 4. Unauthorized entry is dangerous. Echo opened a small panel. Inside were old circuit boards with attached wires. He connected a small device to the panel. A thin blue light spread along the wires, unlocking the door's mechanisms one by one. The metal door groaned as it swung open. Inside, the lab was bathed in purple light. It radiated from enormous glass tubes mounted on the walls. Within each tube, organic formations swirled, bloated with chemicals. Some pulsed like veins, others released bubbles, and a few seemed to breathe. A knot formed in my stomach instantly. The smell of shimmer. Sweet yet bitter, both alluring and repulsive. As we moved deeper into the lab, the machinery grew more complex. Giant mixing vats, chemical tanks connected with cables and pipes, research panels climbing from floor to ceiling. Everything was in motion. It felt alive. Echo spoke slowly. Here, people, sometimes to become stronger, sometimes to survive, sometimes chasing the wrong dream, they surrender themselves to this liquid. On a table lay an old notebook, its pages stained purple. Opening it, I saw hurried, shaky notes. Dose increased. Subject 4 couldn't handle it. Excessive muscle growth, loss of control. Another page. Shimmer's effects appear irreversible. Mental stability compromised. Echo closed the notebook slowly. Shimmer is powerful, he said. But the cost is greater. This place shows it best. The deeper we went, the sound of the lab changed. The machinery was no longer the only noise. A hum filled the darkness, like whispers brushing past us, vanishing into the walls. And then, a shadow appeared from the tunnel ahead. At first, it was faint. Then the purple light revealed its shape clearly. A man, with marks of shimmer injections. His muscles unnaturally swollen, one arm longer than the other. His eyes glowed with a violet light. Echo drew a deep breath. One of the subjects, he said. He must have lost control. The man walked toward us slowly, leaving marks on the floor with each step. Shimmer pulsed beneath his skin. He tried to speak, but only a guttural growl escaped. Echo quickly activated his time jump device. A blue flash occurred, and he appeared behind the man in an instant. "We need to keep moving," he called to us. "Don't touch them in this state. They are no longer anyone." Deeper inside, the lab opened into a massive hall. In the center floated a huge crystal tank. Inside, bright purple shimmer liquid swirled, sparks of electricity dancing within it. Echo lifted his head slightly, eyes fixed on the tank. "The fate of Zaun, it was written here once," Echo said. "Some thought they could become strong through this liquid. But power always comes with a price." At that moment, a sound echoed from the metal platform above. A thin, mechanical tick, then a laugh. It wasn't as wild as Jinx's chaotic laugh. Sharper, more fragile, but carrying a familiar energy. We looked up. Jinx appeared, leaning on the platform railing, twirling a small glowing rod in her hand. "So you came," she said. "I told you. The heart of Shimmer is here. And this is my playground." Echo's voice rose. "Jinx, stay back." Jinx shrugged. Echo, stop trying to control everything. This is Zaun. Nothing here can be controlled." And in an instant, she leapt from the platform. She twirled in midair and landed gracefully. Her rod arced toward the purple tank. "So many things could explode here," she said, laughing. "But don't worry. Not this time. For now." Her eyes returned to us. "There's something about you," she whispered. "You're just getting used to the smell of this city, but in your eyes, there's a wind from another world." One step, then another. "Tell me," she said, "what are you really looking for here? Shimmer? Or yourselves?" Her question hung in the air. The lab lights flickered. A machine's motor flared and died. The purple liquid in the vats churned. This place was alive. A breathing, living monster. And we were standing in its dark heart. Echo's voice grew serious. "We need to go. Staying here, it will change us too." Metal walls began to vibrate. One of the shimmer tanks cracked. Jinx laughed, stepped back, and disappeared into the shadows. "See you, traveler," she called as she vanished. "If you make it out without exploding, that is." The lab erupted into chaos. Echo guided us toward the exit. Pipes pulsating with the purple liquid shook with each step. Alarms blared as if the whole facility sensed collapse. "Quick!" Echo shouted, urging us. "Outside! Now!" We burst through the metal door and into the narrow tunnel. Behind us, a purple explosion illuminated the lab. One tank had completely shattered. We ran the tunnel. Echo's breath was ragged. The air from the upper layers of the city felt clean in comparison. Finally, we reached a wide courtyard. Echo dropped to his knees, breathing deeply. "Shimmer Labs," he said, struggling. "Zaun's curse, and its history." I looked at the sky. A faint gray light filtered through the dark Zaun mist. A strange feeling settled inside me. Despite all its dangers, this city had taught us something. Echo lifted his head. "And it's not over," he said. "Zaun has more to show you." We stepped back into the dark streets of Zaun after the lab's collapse. The echoes of the explosion lingered. The purple light burned in our minds. Streets teemed with life, dripping chemicals from upper layers, groaning rusty pipes, distant metallic clangs. Zaun breathed, lived, decayed. Echo scanned the streets, then spoke quietly. "We need to leave safely. If someone like Jinx is around, things could get worse." We walked. Streets twisted into each other, narrow alleys opening into wide squares, then curling back into tunnels. Occasionally, a chemical droplet fell from above. Echo pulled us aside. "Don't touch that," he warned. Everywhere, Jinx had left her mark, a crazily painted logo on a wall, a charred scrap of metal, a busted mechanical toy. Each trace reminded us of her, chaotic yet brilliant. Echo took a deep breath. "Some people adapt to Zaun's darkness, some fight it, and some become it entirely." He glanced at me. "Jinx, she's the third kind." After a long walk, we reached the area with the giant lift to Piltover. The air was cleaner, machines hummed in order, light was brighter. Still, the sharp scent from Zaun's lower layers lingered. The lift cabin was a massive cage. Echo opened the panel, connected a few wires, and the machine hummed to life. "Get ready," he said. "The light above might blind you." The lift ascended. Darkness fell away through the grid openings, purple light fading into gray, then gold. After a deep hum, we reached Piltover's lower layers. The doors opened. A rush of air hit our faces. Clean. Cool. Carrying the scent of metal and ink. Piltover sounded different. Machines ran orderly, streets were symmetrical, everything was under control. People moved with purpose, even the rush felt orderly. Golden light spilled from above, lending a subtle grandeur to every corner. Echo raised his head. "This is Zaun's opposite," he said. "Everything is neat, precise. But remember, behind every shiny surface, there's a shadow." He led us to a wide sky bridge. Below, Zaun's mist-choked darkness. Above, Piltover's gleaming towers. "Up to here," Echo said. "From here on, the path is yours." He reached out. I saw a wisdom beyond his years in his face. He had lived, seen too much. "You travelers, crossing different worlds," he said with a smile. "If your path brings you back, find me in Zaun." I nodded. "We won't forget you." Echo stepped back, a faint smile on his face. "I hope not," he said. "Because this city, it won't find many like you again." We turned, walking toward Piltover's skyward paths leading to the harbor. The port felt like an oasis amidst the hum of machinery and the scent of technology. Giant cranes moved slowly, airships landed and took off, technicians checked machines with their tools. This was one of Runeterra's busiest trading hubs. Our ship was there, our thought ship from Demacia. Its sails shimmered in gold and navy, the hull glimmered lightly. Ready for another long journey. As we stepped onto the ramp, the smell of the sea hit our faces. After Piltover's mechanical air, this salty breeze felt like medicine. I looked at the waves. A gentle pulse moved through them. Sunlight fractured across the surface, creating a golden path over the water. But then, I noticed strange movements beneath the water. Long, thin shadows. Two of them intertwined, then quickly separated. One circled near the surface before diving back into the depths. A sailor stood next to me. "Did you see them?" he asked. "These are the blue eel fish along the Piltover coasts. They're fast. They love the light. Sometimes, they follow ships." Another shadow, larger this time, rose from a distance. The water's surface broke. A creature, slender, elongated, lines along its sides glowing with light, intelligent eyes. "One of the deep-water reptiles," the sailor said. "A sign of good luck. Your journey will go well." The sea was calm yet alive. It felt as if it was speaking to us. We had to continue toward my new destination, Bilgewater. The sky was covered in gray clouds. The ship's sails filled with wind, tiny ripples forming on the water's surface. In the distance, through the mist, the faint outline of a harbor appeared. Bilgewater, the adventure-filled port, our new home. As the ship moved forward, we felt the sea's enchanting yet intimidating presence. Brightly colored jellyfish drifted along the surface. Massive, solitary sea turtles surfaced slowly, as if greeting our journey. On rare occasions, giant squid raised their heads from the depths, their long tentacles shaping the waves, reminding us of nature's power. Sunlight broke through the clouds, illuminating small islands and rocks appearing in the mist, signs that Bilgewater was near. Silence settled on the ship. Each of us silently imagined what secrets this new city might hold, eyes fixed on the horizon. Finally, the harbor appeared from the mist. A labyrinth of overlapping buildings, massive chimneys atop rooftops, and boats waiting at the docks. Laughter and bargaining from the seaside market, mixed with seagull cries, filled our ears. Colorful flags rippled on sails, exuding a vibrant welcome for every arriving ship. As we disembarked, we passed through narrow streets, weaving between old warehouses, odd shops, and hidden passages. This city was neither like Demacia's orderly cobblestone streets nor Piltover's mechanical precision. Every corner told a story, every dock promised an adventure. Then, a voice called from afar. "Hey! Are you new here?" We turned and saw Ionia, standing strong, gripping her massive sacred staff. The spirit of the city was present. Every champion added their essence to the chaotic energy of the port. Leaving the misty harbor behind, we moved deeper into Bilgewater's heart. The moment we stepped off the ship, the city's chaotic air enveloped us. Narrow streets, wooden structures, peculiar shops, and the salty sea air created an unforgettable scene. Every corner, every pier seemed to whisper a story. Among the bustling harbor, squawking seagulls, laboring dockhands, and merchants shouting over one another, we got lost in the chaos. As we approached the market, our eyes scanned the surrounding shops. Small stalls lined the streets, filled with mysterious potions and elixirs. Amidst them, workers unloading cargo from newly arrived ships mingled with the street's bustle, breaking any silence. The air carried a mix of sea breeze, coal, and tobacco, forming a unique aroma. Our first stop was the busiest market in the harbor. Every type of seafood was sold here, alongside exotic spices and unknown aromas. Our eyes caught rare squid inks and ornaments made from seashells displayed on a stall. Behind us, a partially open warehouse door emitted metallic clangs, reminiscent of Piltover's factories. But here, more chaotic, untamed, and free. Suddenly, a loud voice from the market corner grabbed our attention. "Hey! Over here! New guests?" Turning, we saw Miss Fortune. Her clothes rippled in the wind, guns in hand, exuding her signature stance. As we approached, we felt Bilgewater's dangerous yet captivating energy more keenly. Each champion seemed to have claimed their territory, adding their character to the port. "Welcome," Miss Fortune said, eyes sparkling. "First time in Bilgewater?" We nodded. "Great," she said. "I can show you around, but beware, this isn't just a port. It's a maze of adventure." Our first stop was the narrow back streets. Here, strange shops and bizarre inventions caught our attention. One stall displayed crystal stones from the sea, another sold smuggled tech parts. Gangplank's allies patrolled street corners, representing the city's criminal underworld. On our first day in Bilgewater, stepping off the ship, we felt the city, the champion's energy, and began to adapt to the port's chaotic rhythm. Markets, docks, dangerous corners, colorful characters, they were preparing us for our next adventure. By the day's end, we rented a small boat in the harbor and watched the sunset over the sea. Sea turtles glided across the water, small schools of fish appeared in the distance, and gulls circled above. This was only the beginning. The city promised adventure, danger, and secrets. The next morning, from the wooden deck, I saw the colorful but perilous chaos of the port, ships swaying on ropes, people rushing along the docks, the salty breeze rising from the sea. Then, on the horizon, a group of pirates appeared. Armed and focused, they headed straight toward our ship. Tension spiked. We didn't know what to do until Gangplank appeared. Strong, charismatic, commanding, the entire harbor seemed to pause in respect. "Step aside. This is my business," he said, voice merging with the wind. In moments, with skillful maneuvers, he neutralized the pirates, approaching our ship with a smile. "Bilgewater's rules are simple, you reap what you sow. But here, my word is law." We were thrilled to hear Bilgewater's legends firsthand. Gangplank began recounting tales collected over decades, each revealing the port's history, the sea's dangers, and survival in this city. Two legends captivated us most. The first, the Kraken's Eye, spoke of a giant sea monster lurking off the harbor, swallowing sailors, destroying ships, and hiding lost treasures. But it had one rule: it tested the brave, devoured the cowardly. As Gangplank spoke, his eyes gleamed, showing us that without courage and wit, no sailor could survive these waters. We exchanged glances, wondering if one day we might face this beast. The second, the Black Fleet, was even more terrifying. A ghostly armada, appearing in fog at night, hunting pirates and enemies before vanishing. Only the bold and brave could confront it. Gangplank's vivid descriptions made it feel as if we saw the dark ships drifting through the mist, each maneuver detailed before our eyes. When Gangplank finished, he looked at our ship. "Ready? We leave Bilgewater behind, but remember, this city will always follow like a shadow." We nodded, a mix of excitement and unease, stepping back aboard. As our ship approached the cursed shores of the Shadow Isles, the sea was shrouded in mist. Sunlight barely pierced through the haze. The horizon blended shades of gray and dark green. The island's silhouettes seemed protected by ghosts. Waves crashed with a subtle hum. We knew it wasn't wind or water. The spirits of the Shadow Isles had welcomed us. The ship slowly docked. The wooden pier was covered in moss and salt, rusted chains, broken masts. The harbor was quiet, but not dead silent. Something watched us. As we took our first steps, shadowy figures walking among the docks caught my attention. They looked human, yet their eyes seemed to read the fears within us. I saw the mix of emotions on my companions' faces: fear, curiosity, excitement. We slowly made our way into the town's streets. Cobblestone roads, covered in moss, broken lanterns still casting faint, flickering shadows. The windows of the houses were shuttered. It seemed no one lived there. Yet, for a brief moment, a curtain would move, and it felt as if shadows were watching us. This town wasn't just abandoned, it was hiding a living curse. The first champion we encountered was Thresh. He appeared with a flickering, eerie light. The lantern in his hand held trapped souls. As he spoke, he told us of the island's curse and the world of spirits. Each soul had a story, and every story carried a price. As he passed, the lantern's glow revealed a fleeting vision, a sunken ship, ghosts drifting in the water. It reminded us just how dangerous the Shadow Isles really were. A while later, we came across Hecarim. Mounted on his spectral steed and clad in nightmare armor, he embodied the island's spirit of war. He approached silently, yet his presence alone took our breath away. Hecarim spoke of the island's bloody past and how the curse had spread. Before our eyes, ghosts of ancient battlefields reanimated. The screams of war, the clatter of hooves, all echoing through the mist. In the Shadow Isles, we faced not just champions, but nature itself. Massive kelps surged from the fog, moving with the waves as if trying to pull us in. The sea was unlike any other. Beneath the surface, darkness reigned, and fish glimmered like they absorbed the very light around them. From afar, we saw a massive structure, no ordinary shipwreck, but what seemed like the body of an island splitting the water. As night fell, we returned to our ship, staying briefly in the harbor. The whisper of the curse lingered in our ears, but we understood it better now. Meeting the spirits, feeling the darkness of the city, walking through cursed streets, it gave us an experience unlike anywhere else in Runeterra. The next morning, we set sail again. After days at sea, emerging from the mist, the golden sun revealed Shurima's desert. Yellow and orange dunes seemed to call us toward another adventure. The darkness of the Shadow Isles was behind us, but the memories, the corners, the shadows, the champions, were etched forever in our minds. As the sun spread its golden light over the horizon, our ship approached Shurima's shores. Warm winds rose from the desert, moving like a veil over the sand. In the distance, the silhouettes of massive pyramids began to appear. We had heard countless legends of this land, an ancient empire, hidden magics, forgotten gods. Squinting at the horizon, it felt as though history itself awaited us among the dunes. Stepping onto the sand, we immediately felt its warmth and the crunch beneath our feet. With every step, the dunes shifted, yet somehow carried traces of a lost civilization. The pyramids weren't merely stone. They were monuments built with the power of the past, their surfaces still etched with ancient glyphs, symbols, and arcane markings. We didn't wander streets, but the ruins of great desert cities. Once grand, now long abandoned, yet still radiating magical remnants. Walking through the sand, Azir's shadow suddenly appeared. The Emperor's magical form shone in golden armor, eyes filled with both power and profound sorrow. He told us of Shurima's former glory, the rise and fall of the Empire. Secrets hidden in the sand, Echoes of ancient battles still lingered. Further on, we met Noxus. His towering form, with the head of a jackal, made the ground tremble with each step. Noxus was the symbol of ancient wisdom and power. He spoke of hidden chambers within the pyramids, ancient tomes of magic. Together, we walked toward temples buried in sand. The inscriptions on stone walls whispered the magic of ages past. Shurima was more than history and magic. It was a place entwined with nature. Sudden sandstorms swept over us, shadows and swirling sands acting like tests. In the distance, massive sand serpents and desert scorpions appeared, guardians of sacred spaces protected by hidden magic. As the sun set, the pyramids glimmered with golden light. The desert's mysteries deepened, and we returned to our ship, sharing our discoveries among ourselves. The magic, the ancient history, the silence of the sands, they became an unforgettable part of our Runeterra adventure. After about a week, a new city emerged on the horizon, Bandle City. Tiny houses, colorful banners, and a joyful energy welcomed us. After the ancient magic of Shurima, the cheerful chaos of Bandle City heightened our excitement for the next adventure. At sunrise, our ship docked at Bandle City's harbor. Tiny rooftops were decorated with bright flags, streets bustling with life. The city felt like a storybook. Yordles the size of humans dashed about, taking care of their little businesses. Stepping off the ship, we explored curiously. Cobblestone streets, colorfully painted doors, and little gardens in front of every house. Flowers and miniature lanterns gave the town a magical glow. Our first stop was the city square. Handmade stalls, small markets run by Yordles. Sweet aromas, spices, and tiny toys fascinated us. Here, we met Heimerdinger. With large goggles and wild hair, he was instantly charming. We asked about his laboratory and the tiny mechanical robots he invented. He captivated us, explaining how each creation worked. In the afternoon, we joined small races through Bandle City's streets. Yordles raced their homemade vehicles while we watched. Some children even showed us hidden paths and tiny bridges unknown to most visitors, a secret fairy tale world tucked within the city. As evening fell, lights and lanterns added a new magic to the town. Our first night in Bandle City was unforgettable, warmed by the tiny homes and the Yordles' laughter. The next morning began with an energetic breakfast. Small cafes offered sweet pastries and colorful fruit juices. Afterward, we hiked to forest paths north of the city. The woods framed Bandle City like a natural border. Giant mushrooms, glowing moss, and tiny sparkling insects lit our way. Suddenly, a voice called out, "Hey! Who are you, and what are you doing here?" We turned to see Timo. Small but agile, he was wary of us. We explained our adventure and our curiosity about the city's hidden areas. Timo led us down a secret forest path, a labyrinth of giant mushrooms and sparkling flowers. Here, we encountered tiny traps and playful games. Timo had said, "Miss a trap, and you'd stumble," humorously, leaving everyone laughing. In the afternoon, we reached a small lake in eastern Bandle City. Reflections danced on the water's surface. Tiny Yordles paddled their boats. The lake teemed with colorful aquatic life, glowing fish, and plants shaped like leaves. We held a small race, using our own boats. Laughter and cheers filled the air. As the sun set, we watched from the shore. The Yordles told tales of the lake, lost treasures beneath its waters, and a giant, friendly aquatic creature that roamed its depths. On our last day, we headed toward the heart of Bandle City. Here was the city's main square and the council building, the Bandle Council. The council hall was built of tiny stones, adorned with gold trimmings. Its roof shimmered in the sunlight, and small fountains around it brought the city to life. It was here that we met Lulu. A creative and magical Yordle, she showed us the city's hidden enchantments and fantastical creatures. The moment she blinked, tiny flowers and fairies began dancing all around us. In the afternoon, we climbed to the upper districts to take in the panoramic view of Bandle City. Tiny houses, bustling markets, glowing lanterns, and sparkling streets combined into what felt like a miniature fairy tale city. We took one last tour of discovery: secret passageways, colorful balconies, little flower fields, and toy workshops. The Yordles played with us, gave us small gifts, and as we said our goodbyes, laughter echoed through the streets. At the end of the day, as we returned to our ship, the joy and warmth of Bandle City remained etched in our memories. The colors of the tiny houses, the energy of the Yordles, the city's hidden paths, they all shimmered in our minds. A new destination awaited us, the cold lands of Freljord. As our ship slowly left the harbor, the wind still carried the scents and tiny laughter of Bandle City. When we reached Freljord's shores, our ship docked at an ice-covered harbor. The air was sharp, biting, and laced with snow. Our first steps made the crisp crunch of snow echo in our ears. In the distance, towering glaciers reminded us of how harsh and wild these lands truly were. At the dock, a group of elderly men and women, looking like monks, welcomed us. They explained the local rules and cautions we needed to follow. Then we met Sejuani. Mounted on her massive war boar, she cut through the icy winds as if the storm itself obeyed her. Sejuani spoke of Freljord's harsh but just nature, the historic disputes between clans, and the struggle to survive. In the afternoon, we visited a local village. The houses were made of ice, warmed by stone hearths. The villagers told us one of Freljord's first legends, the spirits of Avrosa. Avrosa, a queen who united the clans, wandered as a spirit in the winds after her death. She delivered justice when needed, and punished the betrayers harshly. As night fell, the northern lights appeared in the dark sky. Green and purple waves danced above us, revealing the magical nature of Freljord for the first time. The next day, Sejuani led us to the massive northern ice caves. The caves were so vast that natural crystal formations hung like chandeliers, scattering light in every direction. Here, we learned of another legend, the Curse of Ursine. Long ago, a wolf spirit was wronged and trapped in Freljord's wildest regions. Those who encountered it were either brave or foolish. The spirit sometimes helped, sometimes punished, teaching harsh lessons to the unwary. Inside the caves, enormous ice creatures appeared. They moved slowly, cautiously, but observed us silently. Sejuani explained that these were guardians of the old clans, harming only those who defied nature's laws. At day's end, we rested in a small hot spring within the icy caves, marveling at the wild beauty of the north. On the third day, we explored the frozen rivers. Walking on the ice demanded care and courage with every step. By the river, the ruins of an ancient city emerged. Here, we learned about Lysandra's dark magic. She was Freljord's most fearsome sorceress. Centuries ago, she wielded ice and shadow magic to terrorize the clans, imprisoning traitors in frozen shadows. Her legacy remained one of the North's most feared legends. As we walked, crystals beneath the ice reflected light. Sejuani explained that these were sacred objects, protected from Lysandra's magic. This hidden space allowed us to feel the raw magical power of the North for the first time. On the fourth day, Sejuani led us to a region inhabited by different clans. Here, we heard legends of Avrosa, Winter's Claw, and Frostguard. Avrosa symbolized peace and unity. Winter's Claw valued strength and combat, training to survive the harshest snowstorms. Frostguard were guardians of the North, quiet, strategic, and in tune with nature. The clan leaders demonstrated a small ritual. Using ice-crafted weapons and glowing stones, they honored the spirits of ancient heroes. The ritual deepened our understanding of Freljord's history and culture. On the fifth day, we faced the harsh reality of the North. A sudden ice storm struck, wind so strong it made walking nearly impossible. Sejuani and the clans showed us survival techniques. Building shelters from ice. Finding food and sourcing water from frozen rivers. Moving like warriors to shield against the storm. This day taught us just how challenging, and how enlightening, life in Freljord could be. That evening, we rested by a fire in a small village, sharing the North's stories and legends. On the sixth day, we climbed one of Freljord's sacred mountains. The peak was shrouded in ice and clouds. As we ascended, the air grew colder and breaths came harder. At the summit, we heard an ancient legend. The Everfrost Beast. a colossal creature guarding Freljord's spirit. Only the brave and pure of heart could face it. Approach with the right intent, and it would guide you, revealing the secrets of the north. At the peak, we saw traces of the legendary creature, gigantic footprints and faint marks in the snow. The moment captured the dangerous yet mesmerizing nature of the north in a single experience. On the final day, carrying the full beauty and legends of Freljord in our hearts, we returned to our ship. Glaciers and frozen lakes slowly faded behind us. Sejuani waved farewell. The harsh yet fair nature of the north, and its legends, would remain an unforgettable memory. Our next journey awaited. After exploring Bandle City and Freljord, we would sail toward the sacred peaks of Mount Targon. Our ship left Freljord's cold winds behind, gliding toward the next great adventure. As our ship approached the harbor, dwarfed by the towering peaks of Mount Targon, we were breathless. From across the sea, the majestic mountains rose, shrouded in clouds, their peaks glowing with golden light like a secret waiting to be discovered. As we neared the shore, dark mountain paths and glimmering crystal caves came into view, each hinting at the mysteries that lay ahead. Stepping off the ship, the calm yet powerful aura of Targon immediately enveloped us. Our first encounter was with Ionia, standing as if guarding the mountains themselves. Her golden armor gleamed, her shield reflected the sunlight, and in her presence, it was clear she was more than a warrior, she was a sacred guide. Ionia shared the history of Targon with us. The peaks of Mount Targon are both a physical and spiritual trial. Only the brave and those seeking enlightenment can ascend these heights. As the day unfolded, we hiked along mountain paths, reaching crystal caves and slopes wrapped in clouds. Here, we heard one of Targon's legends, the dance of the sun and moon. The sun and the moon challenge one another at the summit. This eternal cycle governs the world's energy and the rhythm of life. According to the legend, every living being draws strength from this dance, discovering both courage and wisdom. As evening fell, we reached a campsite near the mountain's peak. Stars emerged through the clouds, and a gentle breeze whispered around us, reminding us that this place was more than a landscape. It was a spiritual experience. On the second day, we began our trek toward Targon's sacred regions. The paths grew steeper, the air thinner, and every step reminded us of the challenge the mountain presented. Along the way, we encountered traces of Pantheon, towering statues and remnants of battlefields, proof that this land was a test not only of the body but of history itself. Ionia introduced us to the spirits of the mountain. Hidden in stones, wind, and clouds, these spirits communicated with those on a true quest. Here, another Targon legend unfolded, Aurelian's celestial path. Aurelian, the ancient being who shapes stars and galaxies, can only be reached by passing a spiritual trial atop the highest peaks. This trial tests courage, inner strength, and determination. Pausing on a narrow trail to gaze at the sky, the stars seemed close enough to touch. The sight filled us with Targon's sacred energy for the first time. Throughout the day, we practiced small meditations and spiritual exercises. Ionia guided each step, teaching us that every breath, every movement, held a lesson. On the third day, we set out for the summit. The paths were steeper, the wind sharper. Sunlight reflected off the crystal caves, illuminating our way. As we approached the peak, the mountain's sacred energy grew ever stronger. Standing in the shadow of Pantheon, Ionia gave her final counsel. Targon tests not only your body but your spirit. To stay or to leave, this is your inner choice. At the summit, standing on stones bathed in golden sunlight, a deep awareness stirred within me. The magic of Targon, the height, the sanctity, and Ionia's guidance, left a profound mark. Over these 3 days, I realized that the journey was not only across seas or mountains but within the spirit itself. In that moment, I made my decision. I would part from the ship. I would remain at Targon's summit, embrace Ionia as my spiritual mentor, and continue my own inner journey. As I watched the ship fade into the horizon, I felt that a new chapter of life had begun atop the sacred mountains of Targon.